I need to talk about this motherfucking bullshit, because I've been holding this in since I heard that this was being made. And you know what? I laid off. I didn't fucking put anything out there because I wanted to be balanced. Maybe it was going to work out. Or maybe it wasn't true. I simply wanted to be the bigger person. But then I saw the fucking wig and I thought, that's it. The gloves are off. We're talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his decision, his absolute brass-necked, audacious Disney money in the motherfucking bank decision to play Maui in the live action version of Moana. A man who is 53 years old. A man who is famously, iconically, legendarily bald. Bald like the motherfucking sun. Bald like a decision was made and it was final. Wearing a wig that looked like it fell off the back of a 1998 Whitesnake tribute motherfucking band. But ho, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start from the beginning, because this ain't the first video I've done with a little bit of a gripe to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It ain't just a fucking wig problem. This is the end of a very, very, very long, very disappointing journey. I've mentioned before, I grew up watching The Rock. And I mean that genuinely. As a kid, I remember wrestling being on Channel 4 in the UK. And I was the biggest Rock fan. He had something that you couldn't teach. The charisma, the confidence, that delivery. If you smell! The minute you fucking heard that, you know what the fuck was gonna happen. I mean, it wasn't a fucking catchphrase, and I know I butchered it. But here's the real shit.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
And that's a cultural moment. He was funny, he was scary. He could flip between the two in literally a single sentence. He made wrestling feel like theatre, and I absolutely fucking loved him for it. There were other wrestlers that I liked, but The Rock, there was just something special. So when he transitioned into movies, I was fucking there. Day motherfucking one. Every step of the way. His first appearance on the big screen was in The Mummy Returns. It was just a fucking cameo as the Scorpion King. CGI was rough as fuck. I remember I was in Guyana at the time, and we went cinema to watch this, and I fucking lost my shit when The Rock came out, right? I didn't even give a fuck that the CGI was shit. I was like, yeah. Then they gave him his own spin-off, The Scorpion King. Was I in the cinema watching that film? Fuck yeah. Was it the best film in the world? Fuck no. But it had The Rock in it. And at that point, that was good enough. But then, and this part, people forget, the man can actually fucking act. Gridlock'd Gang, 2006. The Rock plays a detention officer who starts a football team for young offenders. And it's good. It's genuinely fucking moving. He carries that film on his back, and he does it with subtlety. Walking Tall, simple, effective, fucking good film. Snitch plays a father who goes undercover for the DEA to get his son out of prison. And he is legitimately electrifying in that movie. Vulnerable, real. You forget that you're watching The Rock. This man had range. And then something happened. Now I get it, everyone's got to eat, and Disney had a check with loads of zeros on it. And who am I to be the judge? So yes, there was a period, a notable period, where Dwayne Johnson became Disney's little bitch. The game plan, Race to Witch Mountain, which by the way, I thought actually wasn't that bad. And then the big one, The Tooth Fairy, where this enormous, terrifying man from WWE, or at the time when I used to watch his shit as a child, WWF, had to put on a tutu and wings and collect teeth. I mean, fair enough. You got kids to feed. We move on. But here's the thing. That era, annoying as it was, actually worked in his favour. It showed he was willing to be silly. It built him into a family-friendly name. It was a smart move, even if watching it felt like being slowly lowered into a volcano. But fine, fuck it, okay. I accepted it. I think a lot of people accepted it. What I could not accept, and what started to genuinely grind my fucking gears, was when the film stopped being movies and started being a monumentous ego stroke to him. Because at some point, Dwayne Johnson stopped making films and started extending adverts for the concept of Dwayne Johnson and the the no-lose clause. This is real. This is documented. According to a Wall Street Journal investigation, Johnson has it written into his contracts, his actual legal signed contracts, that his on-screen character cannot lose a fight. His team works with producers, editors, and fight coordinators to make sure that in every single scene, every single exchange, The Rock comes out on top. Now, let that sink in for a second. A man so insecure about his image that he contractually mandated that fictional characters that aren't even real, which is what fictional means, by the way, cannot whoop his ass. I mean, it's not a fucking actor, is it? That's a man having a very expensive argument with his own reflection. I'm also going to note, so that people don't try and call me out, he's not the only actor that has this kind of clause in his contracts. However, this video is based on Dwayne Johnson. And the thing is, you could feel it in the films that he made. Everything became, look how big I am, look how strong I am, look how funny I am whilst also being strong and big. Baywatch, Rampage, Skyscraper, Red Notice, Jungle Cruise, which actually, I kind of liked it. I mean, they're not bad films, they're bad in a much sadder way. They're bland, they're safe, they're a product. The character might have a different name in each one, but it's always the same guy. Massive, untouchable, wins everything. Has a moment where he looks at the camera and grins and does the Rock eyebrow, and then the credits roll. I mean, for fuck's sakes, he grabbed a helicopter with his bare fucking hands, the chains that was hanging onto the helicopter, and held a helicopter in place, which leads me onto the biggest ego trip, the one that genuinely went sideways in a spectacular fashion, and that was the Fast and Furious situation. Now, I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, and The Rock joined in 2011 as Luke Hobbs. And he was great, genuinely. I actually really liked his character. He and Vin Diesel had this crackling, antagonistic energy that felt fucking amazing. Perfect casting. Everyone loved it. And then they started filming The Fate of the Furious in 2016. And something went very wrong behind the scenes. In August 2016, mid-production, Johnson posted on Instagram, and then he deleted it, which always tells you fucking everything. And in it, he praised all his female co-stars, and then described certain of his male co-stars as, and I'm quoting, candy acids. He added that when you watch the film and it looks like he's not acting, that's because his blood was legit boiling. I mean, the internet figured out within about 45 minutes that he was talking about Vin Diesel. Now, Vin Diesel tried to spin it. He told Men's Health that he was just giving The Rock tough love to get a better performance out of him. Bless him. I mean, that sounds like fucking shots fired to me. Dwayne Johnson later confirmed to Rolling Stones that the issue was a fundamental difference in philosophies on how we approach movie making and collaborating, which basically meant two enormous egos, one franchise, not enough room. The tension got so bad that by the end, they were filming scenes literally separately on purpose. They were never on set at the same time during The Fate of the Furious. Now think about that. In a film where they're supposed to be working together. So The Rock exited the main franchise and made a spin-off, Hobbs and Shaw, with Jason Statham, which was fine. And when Vin Diesel publicly, dramatically posted an open letter on Instagram back in 2021, begging The Rock to come back for Fast X or Fast 10, referencing his own children, calling Johnson Uncle Dwayne, Dwayne Johnson went on to CNN and said very clearly, I would not be returning to the franchise. Said it firmly, said it with his chest, said it publicly. A bluff. If you've not seen the film, this is going to be an issue. It's a spoiler. He showed up in the post-credit scenes of Fast X or Fast 10, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, and then announced that he was officially back.
And you guys have been waiting for over a week now for me to confirm. So I am 100% confirming to you guys around the world that yes, it is true. Hobbs is back. Hobbs is back in the Fast and Furious franchise.
And the internet lost its damn mind. Not a good way, in a kind of way that it was like, motherfucker, you just said you weren't doing this. And when he was confronted with the contradiction, Dwayne Johnson called Vin Diesel's original Instagram post an example of his manipulation, which doesn't explain why Dwayne Johnson then did the exact same thing he said he wouldn't do. But here we are. Personally, I have my own feelings on this. I have my own theory. I'll tell you that in a minute. But even that ain't as bad as the next. The biggest fuck up for Dwayne Johnson, I think, is Black Adam. Now, Black Adam has been in had been in development for fucking 15 years. 15 years. I remember when this shit was first mentioned. And yeah, seemed cool. The Rock had been attached to this project since before some y'all was in fucking secondary school. And when this movie finally came out in 2022, the marketing was relentless. The tagline was literally, the hierarchy of power is about to change.
Now what you're going to see here is why the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
Things will never be the same because the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
This motherfucker was online talking about how Black Adam was going to change the DCU forever. And behind the scenes, he was making sure of it, whether anyone at Warner Brothers actually wanted him to or not. According to a detailed report in Variety, Dwayne Johnson went around the existing DC leadership to get what he wanted. Specifically, he pushed for and eventually got, spoiler alert if you have not seen Black Adam, a cameo from Henry Cavill as Superman. And that was in the post-credit scene. Now, the Warner Bros. Film chief at the time had actually made the call back in 2018 to recast Superman and get a new actor. That decision had already been made. It was done. Johnson's team went around that decision and found people in the new leadership transition to approve it instead. And one insider told Variety that Dwayne went around everyone, which didn't sit well. His vision was full DCU takeover. Black Adam as the centerpiece, leading towards a massive showdown with Superman, building out a new DC universe with himself at the fucking top. His own production company, $7, which he co-founded with his ex-wife and manager, Danny Garcia, was producing. He was the star, he was the power play. Also, if memory serves well, I think Danny Garcia was actually Henry Cavill's agent, I think. The film made $391 million worldwide against a budget of $195 million, plus $40 million in reshoots, which sounds like money until you realize that for a film of that size to be considered a success, you're looking at somewhere in $600 to $700 million range. It flopped. James Gunn was then brought in to lead the new DC studios. They had their own vision, they had their own plan, and The Rock's Black Adam empire evaporated overnight. No sequel, no expanded universe, the Henry Cavill Superman era ended, and the whole thing just went to pot. Dwayne Johnson's reply was, he went onto the Kevin Hart show and said Black Adam got caught in a vortex of new leadership. He blamed the change of management, He said it was one of the biggest mysteries of the business. Meanwhile, James Gunn said something different. He said that Dwayne Johnson was trying to force his way into a larger creative role at DC, and that it was never part of the equation for the head of Warner Brothers Discovery. So basically, my man tried to take over DC. He went around the execs to get what he wanted, it didn't work, the film fucked up, and then he blamed everyone except himself. And personally, I think that links in to his reappearance into the Fast and Furious franchise, because at this point, he was spiraling, right? That's my opinion, I have no evidence for it, but that's what I think. And then all of a sudden, I think when he said that he was never going to come back to the Fast and Furious franchise, he had meant it, because in his head, he was already thinking, I'm going to be the top of that DCEU. Well, DCU or DCEU. When it fucked up, he needed something to basically fall back on. So, all of a sudden, my man's appearing in a post-credit scene in Fast and Furious 10 or X or whatever you want to call the damn thing. Now, to his credit, genuinely, actual credit, Johnson made the Smashing Machine in 2025, which was a biopic of the real-life MMA fighter Mark Kerr. And by all accounts, it seems to be excellent. I've not seen it yet, but there was a lot of buzz for this film. And apparently, he actually fucking acted, like properly acted. And everyone's like, oh, right, hold on. All right, this is who this man actually is when he's not building monuments to himself. But you see, just when I thought he might have changed and learned something, I get annoyed again. Because at the same time, Dwayne Johnson has gone around interviews suggesting the reason he'd made all those terrible films wasn't really his fault, that he'd been pushed into certain roles and that circumstances had led him there. And I'm there like, my friend, you own the fucking production company. $7 Productions, that's yours. You're the CEO. You and Danny Garcia co-produce nearly everything you're fucking in. These were not films that were handed to you while you're minding on your own fucking business. No, these were films your company developed, produced, and you fucking starred in. The ego-stroke blockbusters were a choice. A deliberate, ongoing, contractually, no-lose choice. The accountability was not forthcoming. And now, we arrive at that fucking week. Disney have announced a live-action remake of Moana. A film that came out in 2016, 10 years ago. A film that is not even fucking old. A film whose sequel, Moana 2, came out in 2024. A film that made over $1 billion at the box office. There is no reason for this film to exist in live action other than Disney knowing that The Rock's name sells tickets and The Rock being a producer on the project through $7. And in the trailer, which came out this week, there he is, Maui, Dwayne Johnson, 53 years old, in a bodysuit that adds 40 pounds to his frame because even The Rock with all that muscle is not big enough to play animated Maui. And on his head, a fucking wig. A wig that Reddit users have accurately described as looking like a Spirit Halloween Three Musketeer wig. A wig that another said made him look like a baby who's found his mama's wig and tried it on for the first time. And here's the thing that makes it even worse. It's not just the bad aesthetics. It's culturally fucking bad. When Disney were animating the original Moana in 2016, their Polynesian culture advisors kept pushing them to give Maui more and more hair. Bigger, fuller, more flowing hair. Because in Polynesian culture, hair carries mana, spiritual power. It's not decorative. It's not a style choice. It's meaningful. Disney actually had to develop new rendering software just to do fucking Maui's hair justice in the original animation. And in the live action, with a $200 million budget, they've given him a wig that looks like it's just come off a fancy dress rail. And beyond the wig, beyond all of it, is the question that nobody seems to want to ask directly. Why is this man still playing this fucking role? He is the original voice of Maui. Fine. He's Polynesian. He has that cultural connection. It makes sense. But this is live action. We're not getting the girl who voiced Moana, who I actually think would look better as Moana than the girl that they've got, but it is what it is, right? This is a physical portrayal of a character that, as fans have pointed out, should be played by someone who's actually built like Maui. I'm fucked off because I get called fucking Maui. I'm built like him. I've got the hair. I look more like Maui than fucking The Rock. But at the end of the day, we should have someone who actually looks like Maui. Bigger, rounder, more youthful, more energy. Somebody who doesn't need a fucking bodysuit. And even with the bodysuit, you can see that they've made him more muscular. And definitely someone who doesn't need a fucking wig. Someone who could own that role without it looking like an SNL fucking sketch. This was a genuine, real opportunity to hand the torch to a new Pacific Islander actor. Someone who could carry a franchise, build a name, represent that community in a way that the original animated film was celebrated for. And instead, because $7 Production is producing, because The Rock's name is on the poster, because nobody apparently had the bottle to say, hold on, we're getting a 53-year-old bald man in a wig standing next to CGI water. End of the day, look, I'm not saying Dwayne Johnson is a bad person. I'm not even saying he's a bad fucking actor. I've told you. Gridlock'd Gang, Walking Tall, Snitch, Smashing Machine, Pain and Gain, yeah? Fantastic films. Smashing Machine I haven't seen yet, but it's a movie that I want to see, yeah? But I know that the man can fucking act when he wants to. I'm saying that he's spent a decade prioritizing the brand over the craft. I'm saying the no-lose clause tells you everything you need to know about how he sees himself. I'm saying the Black Adam situation tells you everything you need to know about how he operates. I'm saying the Fast and Furious situation tells you everything you need to know about the gap between what he says and what he does. And I'm saying that when you've been that guy, when you've done all of that, you don't get to also be Maui. You don't get to slap a fucking wig on, put on a bodysuit, produce your own Disney film, and call it representation. You just don't. The hierarchy of power was supposed to change. It didn't. But the wig is real and I fucking can't unsee it. Honestly, this is not a film I'm going to go to the cinema to watch. And I know that people will say, oh, you know, you don't have to like it. That's fine. I know Moana is still there. I can still watch the animated version. I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed for the culture, which is not my culture, but I liked what they were doing. I liked seeing Maui, someone who looks more like me. I liked that representation. And that's why I'm a bit fucked off. Let me know your thoughts.